One of the most widely used ways of actually capturing requirements in a format that's useful for engineers and customers are user stories. User stories are short, concrete documents that capture who a feature is for, what its value is, what's involved in creating that feature, what its costs are, and how long it will take to build. These documents provide the customer a really concrete understanding of what it is that the development team is going to do when they're building out a feature. And they also provide a bunch of data back to the customer so they can understand the overall costs and trade-offs of adding a feature to their systems. So user stories are a great way to increase the cohesion between the customer or product owner and the development team and are widely used within Agile methodologies. User stories have 5 main parts. So the first is called the role goal benefit. So role goal benefit forces the customer to really think about who is going to benefit from a feature, what they're trying to achieve, and why they want to achieve that. And by capturing this in a concrete way, it gives everyone an opportunity to really think about whether or not a feature is really worthwhile and adds real concrete value to a product. Next, the user story will capture the limitations of the feature. So the limitations and clarifications will really scope down the role goal benefit to apply only in the subset of situations that matter for this feature. The next thing that we want to keep track of is known as the definition of done. The definition of done ties exactly back to the validating requirements piece that we were talking about earlier. This is all about giving the development team a concrete understanding of how the customer will be validating whether or not the feature that they're delivering is actually done, complete, and correct. So this is really what's going on here. How will we be validating to make sure the feature is complete? Next, we keep track of engineering tasks. These engineering tasks are mainly valuable for the development team as they keep track of how this feature interacts with other features within the system or other subsystems. And finally, we have an effort estimate. And what the effort estimate captures is the overall cost of a feature. And this gives the development team and customer a concrete thing to talk about when they're thinking about the value of a feature. Because if it's going to take 2 weeks to add this feature, but the benefit is really small, maybe this isn't actually worth doing, or not worth doing now and is better to be left for the future. So having this concrete effort estimate is a crucial piece of the user story approach, as it gives the development team and customer a concrete way to validate and think about the value of a feature versus the cost to the technical team as they go to build it out. When we're thinking about user stories, it's important not to feel constrained too much by the process. So one place that people find this constraining is in terms of role, goal, benefit. The role for our user stories don't always have to be human entities. They can also be back-end systems, third-party servers, and other systems. Okay, so it's important to realize that that role can be non-human entities. One other challenge with user stories is that the cost associated with a user story always needs to be implementable within a single iteration. So if we're thinking about a Scrum-based methodology, that would be a single sprint, typically lasting about 2 weeks. The reason for this is we want to be able to go back with our user story and get feedback from the customer really quickly. So getting feedback after 2 weeks is much better than getting feedback after a year. One alternative implication of this is in terms of schedule slip. So if we doubled our schedule from a 2-week sprint and it takes us a month, that's not great. But if we double a 1-year feature and it takes 2 years, that's much more impactful on the overall schedule for our product. Now, it's really easy to do user stories badly. So what we want to do is we want to add an additional framework here to help us think about how to deliver user stories in an effective way.